So in this video, I want to talk about Nami versus Akainu and why that matchup is not broken, but she's still very solid against Akainu. Now, the way her traits work is that she's going to get 50% damage reduction against Akainu no matter what, and if she's above 50% HP, she will get 80% damage reduction. Now, the problem is that she's blue, she's not red or green, so she cannot get an additional 15% from Zone Grand Line tags. So she is limited to the 80% here, and at best, you can give her 15% from medals, and that gets her up to 95, assuming Akainu has 0% damage increase. Now, Garp had the same thing against Roger. Because of his strong nature against Roger, he couldn't get 100% damage reduction. And so with Nami, it can be even worse because you actually want skill 1 reduction for her. I think pretty important to get that, especially if your matchup is going to be against Akainu. But keep in mind, 90-80% damage reduction is still very, very solid. But to maintain such high damage reduction against Akainu, we need to make sure Akainu doesn't have his damage increase. And how does he get his damage increase? Right? Every time he's attacking an incinerated enemy. And the way you don't get incinerated is by having your skill 1 up all the time. So it's actually more important for you to keep your skill 1 up rather than to have more damage reduction, because he will have 30% damage increase. Whereas if you just had the 15% from medals, that's only 15% extra. Whereas he deals 30% if he incinerates you. So you want to keep in mind how important it is to keep your skill 1 up with Nami. It's very, very important. You really want skill 1 cooldown on her. Of course, if he incinerates you, he can get attack buffs, and that can help him deal more damage. But that's something you can prevent by using your skill before he incinerates you. Right? Now, Garp had the same problem against Roger, where he probably won't last the longest in terms of tankiness, simply because, again, against Roger, he had the 50% against attacker, and then 30% if he was buffed. Right? So that got him up to 80%, and then with medals you can get it 15, but that's it. You couldn't get to 100 because Zone Grand Line didn't apply in that matchup. So other characters this reminds me of is Mihawk and Katakuri, right? So they have exactly the same traits as Nami, where they both have the same damage increase. But the reason they were able to tank Roger really well and get that 100% damage reduction is because it was easy to maintain above 50% and then give them Zone Grand Line. And with like 5-10% medals, Roger had struggles to get his damage increase. They could maintain that very high damage reduction against Roger. So Nami, the reason she's good against Akainu isn't necessarily her tanking against him, but to make sure he's not getting his incinerates off, but more importantly, to remove his shield and to support your team. But she can also tank him really well if you get your skill 1. But if you lose your skill 1, you take a lot of damage, you get under 50% HP, you lose that 30% damage reduction, and suddenly you're only at 30, but he's dealing an extra 30 on damage reduction. So at best, you're going to have like 30 or 20% damage reduction if you consider his traits as well and your medals. So you're going to have really low damage reduction once you get under that 50 and if you get incinerated. So that's why you really want your skill 1, and that's why I'm going to transfer this build to a skill 1 build so I can use that instead. And yeah. That's my thoughts on the Nami versus Akainu matchup, and I think she's a fantastic unit. And she might struggle a bit because, again, she's so focused on nullifying that Aflame, but as long as Akainu is in the meta, Nami is always going to be a solid choice. And maybe in the future, when there are only Aflame characters, she's not going to be as good, but she's still a decent tank no matter what. So, especially against Akainu. Hope you enjoy the gameplay. Peace.
お前らに気を取られても死ぬ。